Big New York Times headline over the weekend: crossings at the United States southern border are now higher than ever. They report migrants have been caught crossing the southern border of the United States more times in the past year than in any other year since at least 1960, when the government started keeping track of the data. It is the third record-setting year in a row. Joining us now with more detail on this is Mark Krikorian. He's the executive director of the Center for Immigration Studies. Mark, great to have you back with us, sir. Thank you.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, another Friday news dump where we find out, we set another record for illegal entry. What's going on here?
Even worse, it was a Saturday morning news dump. I mean, they're hoping nobody would report on it.
Yeah.
What's going on is what's been going on for 2.5 years now. From inauguration day, this administration undid everything Trump had done to stabilize the border. He hadn't fixed everything, but he'd stabilized it. And, they were told before they took office, during the transition, this is now 3 years ago, they were told, look, fellas, I know what your candidate said during the campaign, but don't do it. It's going to blow up in your face. It's bad for the country, but it's going to be bad for you guys too. They went ahead and did it anyway. And lo and behold, we have the highest level of so-called encounters at the border. That's the PC term now, than ever before. I mean, it's not even close.
Yes, there were more than 2.4 million apprehensions just this fiscal year alone, which ended in September. When we see the word apprehensions, how many of those people end up staying in the United States, Mark?
Unfortunately, under Biden, it's the vast majority. Now, before May, of that number, before May, a whole bunch of them were, in fact, bounced back because of that Title 42 that some listeners may remember. That was a COVID era measure, and it allowed the Border Patrol to just bounce you out of the country. No hearing, no asylum, no nothing. That's gone, obviously. And so now we have numbers that are, higher than they've ever been, monthly numbers higher than they've ever been. What did they expect was going to happen? I mean, we've actually tried to estimate. The administration won't tell you, but we've tried to estimate from various sources how many people actually were let go. Because these big numbers include some people who were, caught a couple of times, maybe, that kind of thing. How many people did this administration let into the country? Illegal immigrants with no right to be here, and they were let go. The number at this point is probably close to 3 million people. Illegal immigrants in less than 3 years that this administration had in custody. I don't mean people who snuck by them. Had in custody and then let go into the United States. And supposedly they'll come show up for a hearing, 10 years from now. Nobody believes that. Everybody knows it's BS.
So it doesn't appear that there's any meaningful border whatsoever based on two recent pieces of data that are really jaw-dropping. I know things are bad, but I don't know if I knew they were this bad. The House Judiciary Committee released in October data showing that 99% of all illegals who are here in the United States are not being deported by the Biden administration. 99%. In other words, you are virtually guaranteed to stay in the United States if you're an illegal immigrant. And then we get data this week from the House Homeland Security Committee that the CBP-1 app that foreign nationals are using to indicate to the Biden administration that they want to come into the country, 96% of them are being processed right into the United States of America. Mark, what's happening there?
Yeah, this CBP-1 was an app, a cell phone app. Made sense when it was set up. It was actually set up by the Trump administration, but it was for legal crossings, like bus companies and truck companies, to sort of schedule ahead of time when they're going to show up at the border so you don't have lots of people lined up at the border and, frankly, during COVID, breathing all over each other. What the Biden administration did was take this modestly useful management tool. They have turned it into a tool for illegal immigrants, potential illegal immigrants, to schedule their illegal immigration into the United States. It's when you say it that way, it's hard to believe, but that's what it is. Because these people have no right to come in. They schedule this appointment with the CBP-1 app, which you can download yourself. I mean, you're not supposed to use it unless you crossing the border, but it's just at the Apple Store and Google Play. And they are just letting them in. The 99% number is the number of people who make an appointment who are let in rather than examined and said, no, you can't come in. You have an appointment, but you fail for whatever reason. They let them all in. They've let hundreds of thousands of people in on this CBP1 app. And, they say they run their names through criminal database check. And I believe that. They do that. But if they've not been in the United States, then what crimes have they committed here? What good does that do?
Yeah, it's just amazing. 96%, 99%. I can't get these odds in anything. I can't. If I was playing a game of bingo, I'd have no shot. But these guys can come into the United States of America and stay, and it's a virtual guarantee. And yet the Biden administration acts like, well, they keep saying things like the border is secure. And then the latest thing that the New York Times is doing some water carrying for is that they claim, well, this is a global, quote, migration crisis. Every country on planet Earth is dealing with some form of migration crisis. Therefore, the United States is not unique.
Yeah, the administration says this all the time, too. I mean, obviously, it's no surprise the New York Times is carrying their water for them. The administration talks about it as a hemispheric problem that we have to work with our partners in Latin America, blah, blah, blah. It's remarkable that it all happened starting on right after Election Day when Biden was elected. It's really coincidental that all these things happen. The fact is, there are problems in the world. Those problems are endemic. There's poverty, there's corruption, there's disorder and violence. Those are all bad things. And those are, in fact, the things that cause people to think about wanting to leave where they are. The question is, do they follow through and do they go to a particular place? That happens. That decision happens because of the information we send them. And when you tell people, if you come in, schedule your appointment to illegal immigration, especially if you bring a kid with you, we're just going to let you go and nobody's ever going to look for you again.
Yeah.
People are going to take us up on it.
To your point, remember some infamous audio now. Fox News' Griff Jenkins talking to an illegal immigrant after he got into the country. Why'd you come? Why'd you come? And here's what it sounded like.
Everybody believes that the border is open. It's open because we enter, we come in. Free.
It's open for you to come illegally, right?
Illegally, yes, illegally, that's true. Because we see it on the news that everybody coming illegally. So we also do the same.
Yeah, we came in, we do the same. We knew it was open. We come in illegally, and here we are. And here he is. He's in a nice polo shirt. He's got his N95 mask on, and he's telling Griff Jenkins, yeah, of course I came in illegally. That's what everybody's doing.
I mean, what does this administration think? They think these people are stupid? They watch CNN. They get, texts and pictures back from their relatives and friends who made it into the United States. They know more about the immigration enforcement situation than most Americans. So when we send the signal that if you get here, you're going to let go, we're going to let you go.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what kind of ads they take out in Central American radio stations saying, don't come, or the vice president goes down there, do not come. That means nothing when your next door neighbor's son sent back a picture of himself having made it to Chicago and he's got a piece of paper and he's got a job.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Let me talk about another thing that's relevant for our immigration system. It's a matter of who we let in and what their intentions are for our country. Because lately, because of the terror attack in Israel, there's been some discussion among sitting lawmakers about whether or not we should eject foreigners from the United States. These are not U.S. citizens, just foreigners who are here in the country who express support for terrorism, like from the likes of Hamas. Apparently, it's a matter of some debate. The White House even saying this week that they respect free speech, and they didn't really want to address it beyond that. Is there precedent for the United States booting people who have animus for us?
Yeah, there absolutely is, and it should be easier than it is. The issue is called ideological exclusion. In other words, you keep out people who hate America, basically, whether they're communists or Nazis or Islamists or what have you. The problem legally is that Barney Frank got an amendment passed after the end of the Cold War. This is Barney Frank, the former congressman, Democrat congressman from Massachusetts. After the end of the Cold War, when history ended, remember, that said you couldn't keep out anybody or deport anybody if they were expressing views that would be protected if it was an American citizen expressing those views. So essentially, they're applying the First Amendment to all foreigners abroad. And sorry, it doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way.
No.
And what we need to do is, there are things you can do even with that restriction, where people who give what's called material support to Hamas, for instance, can be deported. But Material support means, you sent them money or you boxed up some AK-47s or whatever. We should be able to deport foreigners, non-citizens, especially if they're not green card holders, like foreign students, who go to some, Hamas march and say, from the river to the sea, kill all the Jews. Well, I don't care First Amendment or not. If you're American, you get to say that. That's too bad, but you get to say it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a foreign student, sorry, you're on the next plane out of here. Unfortunately, this administration would never do that, and it would be difficult under the law currently.
Yeah, I do see some libertarian arguments that people are, they're entitled to free speech, even if it means calling for terror attacks against places like Israel or the United States.
Not if they're our guests, they shouldn't be.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And meanwhile, I was thinking, to become a United States citizen, you do have to take an oath to support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America as a part of your naturalization. So why shouldn't we hold foreigners who are not citizens to a standard where we would eject them if they are rooting against us?
Good question. And you brought up the citizenship question. If you're a foreigner who became a naturalized American citizen, you're an American like anybody else. Except if you lied in your application, we can denaturalize you and strip you of your citizenship and throw you out of the country. If it can be proved that when you took the oath to defend the Constitution of the United States, you were, say, a member of Hamas or something like that, we should be able to denaturalize you. And there used to be an office, denaturalization office, that looked into those things. Under this administration, do you really think they would ever even consider that?
No, they don't even deport illegals. They're never getting to denaturalization. What comes next in this border crisis? It seems to me that we're inevitably plummeting towards some sort of chaotic event that goes beyond what we've seen just in terms of cities being overwhelmed and the rising crime rates. There's all this concern now that you have people in the United States openly expressing support for terror, for one, and so many illegals who are pouring in from all of these various countries. The threats to our homeland security seem huge, Mark Krikorian.
Yeah, you bet they are. And it's cartels, it's regular criminals, it's spies, Chinese spies, but it's also, terrorist saboteurs. I mean, we've seen this happen before. Usually what they would do, and this happened with the 9/11 terrorists and a whole series of other terrorists here, is they came in on some kind of visa.
Right.
And then, maybe overstayed or violated the terms. But the point is somehow we let them in. It's a whole lot easier now just to come across the border and be let in. Even if you sneak across the border and don't turn yourself in, the Border Patrol is like Lucy in the Chocolate Factory. They're barely able to keep up with the minimum stuff. They're not patrolling the border in a lot of places. So, is there going to be a terrorist attack from people who snuck in? I don't know. No one knows the future, but the odds are, getting higher and higher that something like that's going to happen. And why wouldn't it? Yeah.
And finally, I spoke with Senator Roger Marshall earlier this hour, and we were discussing how, as a part of the budget that Biden is proposing, the $100 billion, nestled in there is supposedly $14 billion for our southern border. It's my impression that number is designed to actually just continue to accelerate foreign nationals into our country. Do you sense any appetite for border security in this package?
No, the White House actually says in their proposal that what they want to use the money for is to accelerate the processing of illegal immigrants into the United States.
Right.
I think it was Senator Lee said something that calling that request border security is like calling gasoline a fire retardant. I mean, it's the literal opposite of what they are packaging it as. And, there's no Republican House member or senator should be voting for that package, regardless of what label the White House sticks on it.
It's just amazing. Vote for all this aid for other countries and then vote to destroy our own, all in the same package. Mark Krikorian, Executive Director for the Center for Immigration Studies. Thank you, as always, for being attuned to all these issues and sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.